then to, pad on that was amazing for this team. And as you mentioned, Gita, they had a lot of contributions from other people that I'm sure we're going to talk about. But Austin Reaves delivers, ice in his veins. He's never wavers. They didn't have a lot of versatility in the offense tonight. And he made that pick and roll work a lot tonight. A big mistake by Gobert on that double team when he made that split. But it took Austin Reaves' talent to see that. But, his clutch performance once again, night in and night out. Great leadership on his part as well. Dropping dimes as well.
Yeah, 16 assists.
Scoring. He might be player of the month.
We all yelled when Gobert made that mistake because you saw him come up too high and too wide. And he left that lane, Rob, for Austin Reaves to split. And once he's in that key, he's money.
Well, that's the defensive player of the year for like a couple years in a row. At his best right there.
Not for perimeter defense, though.
Not at all. And the thing about Austin Reaves, that's his go-to move. And what's really incredible, if you really look at this shot, he's right-handed, right? He shot that off his right leg. So his floater is just that potent that he can shoot it off either leg. And that takes some talent, man.
Yeah.
We talked about it earlier, how he doesn't play above the rim. That kind of affects a lot of people because most people in the NBA are athletic. So when you athletic and you go up against somebody who's not as athletic, you kind of overrun plays, and right there you show you what he can do.
Listen, 28 points, the 16 assists, James, a double-double for Austin Reaves. And listen, every night in the NBA, especially when you have to be the 1A without LeBron and Luka Dončić, you're going to get defended well, especially a team like Minnesota who's great on the perimeter with a guy like McDaniels, the way they can blitz, the way they can double. And he did not have a great shooting night, 9 of 24. But he got to the line 7 times, which is less than he has been, hit all 7, got the 16 assists. And what makes Austin so great is that he does not quit in these kind of situations, James. He always believes in his talent. And he was huge. But that 28-16, he is off to an amazing start, especially with all these guys hurt. Because you got to throw in Marcus and Gabe, too. We're talking 4 big-time rotational guys for the Lakers, including 2 superstars.
And Austin Reaves has replaced them each night. Seems like he's stepped up. For him to handle the ball that much, they only have 3 turnovers as well, too. For the pressure he received, the trapping and all that stuff, he just kept his poise. Whenever he did get off track a little bit and maybe slip up and turn it over, he always got back to himself and that under control. Gita, he's a great ball handler, okay? Rob just mentioned he doesn't play above the rim, so you got to be really careful not to foul him because he's really technical with the ball. He looks for bodies to get close to him. I think that's what he really lives off of, and then he gets his shots. You can foul him easily. He'll make you foul him. So he's just really crafty with the basketball in his hand. And he doesn't try to avoid bodies. He looks for angles, and, if you get too close to him, he's going to have an and one. That's what makes him very dangerous. He's unpredictable.
And another 40 minutes tonight, so a lot on the shoulders of Austin Reaves. But it did come with some frustrations on that Laker team the last 4 or 5 minutes, Rob. The offense, what did you see there? Just kind of seemed to stall, ball stop moving. Was that more the defense from Minnesota, or was it just Lakers?
I think it's when you depend on great individual players like a Luka, like LeBron, coaches have a tendency to say, do you? And you go down the stretch, I think they ran that same pick and roll like 8 times. And let's be honest, we know Minnesota is a good defensive team. And so if you keep picking at it, they're going to figure it out. And there's a couple of times where, you could have ran a different set, moved the ball, come back, and then you get a live ball, and then go into that set. We used to call it 4-pass with Phil, and then you get the defense to move, and you see what they're going to do. You get some mismatches you want, then you go at them. So I think that's something they're going to learn from. It's still early in the season.
Yeah.
And so this is something that the coaching staff can look at and say, okay, we get down the stretch. We got to have some other plays because, defense is keying in on either Austin Reaves, LeBron, or Luka. Next thing you know, we got Rui Hachimura going back there because that is in their playbook because we've seen it last year.
Yeah, and I'd really like to see the pick and roll has been great with Ayton. They got him involved, and Jake Laravia, guys, was absolutely awesome. We're going to get to him, I promise, a little later in the show. It's time to hear from Coach J.J. Redick, brought to you by your Toyota dealers.
JJ, what's the roller coaster of emotions like where build a big lead, despite being shorthanded, they cut it all the way down, get ahead with the Randall bucket, and then you got to find a way to get your guys a shot in those final seconds. How do you go up and down there?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't much of an emotional roller coaster for me. I don't think it was for our guys either. We executed against the zone. We got good shots. Had a couple, offensive rebound, drop-off passes that we just bobbled around the rim, but we actually did a good job executing and missed some really good threes. There was no break in composure. There was no break in competitive spirit. There was no break in belief of whether or not we could win the game. I thought I thought the guys, those last 2 plays, because they ran zone for 4.5 minutes. So those last 2 plays, to draw up 2 plays, one versus man, one versus zone. They ended up running man both times for us to get that execution, get it to the right guy, create an advantage. Both times, really. We had an advantage. Austin was easily going to race that and create a 5-on-4 or a 4-on-3. So I thought that was huge from our guys. I'm so proud of this group right now. Honestly, it's from where we were like 3 weeks ago, where we're discombobulated and guys are missing training camp and guys are modified participants. We're starting to come together, and I've asked a lot of these guys, and I'm asking a lot of them while we're undermanned, and they are delivering. They're delivering. They earned this victory.
Clearly, they were paying a lot of attention to Austin, and he ends up with a career-high tying 16 assists. But for him to, I think he's basically split the double and is able to still score through traffic. Like, what is that moment to peak it? But what does it say about his whole game?
Yeah, that guy is going to show up in the big moments. It's not surprised. He's done that many times in his career. He's done that many times since I've been his coach. Feel very comfortable with him making decisions at late game.
When I guess you have time about 6.6 seconds left, whatever. At that point, that's where you're referring to drawing off both a play against the zone and against man.
The first one, yeah. So the first one after Randall scored,
right?
We drew up 2 plays,
yep.
One versus zone, one versus man.
Right.
And we drew up after they had a take foul. We drew up another 2 plays.
Okay.
With just a small tweak. That's all it was. For the man version.
In the man version, generally, obviously the ball in Austin's hand. But what was kind of, if you could describe in layman's term, kind of what you're looking for? Obviously, he scored, so you got what you're looking for.
I thought those guys did a great job of reading it on the floor. What we were looking for was not going to happen because of how Gobert was playing. So we changed it last second. He was all the way back at the rim, or in the paint, and so we changed it the last second. Austin got the ball, and then Da made a great, quick decision just to come under that ball screen, and Gobert was too far back, and Austin attacked.
JJ, I think you guys had 5 guys in double figures tonight, and one of those guys was Jake. What did you think about his composure and the way he played for you?
Well, very early in his Laker career, but clearly his best game as a Laker. I'm really happy for him, and I know they showed something the other day. I think it was the Amazon video about reference points. And for Jake as a Laker, this game now is a reference point. Not only for the offense, again, he's had 2 of the last 3 games. He's been phenomenally. His activity level, deflections, I'll find out, but he's 6 or 7 deflections tonight. He ended up with, 1 steal and a block, but that doesn't really capture his level of activity defensively. And then just continuing to have confidence in his shot and belief in that was big.
And it's not your first buzzer beater, but for the Lakers, but just considering all the circumstances and the week that you've had and everything that's kind of been on the shoulders, your teammates, how does all of that hit you after you saw the ball go up in the air?
That one felt good. For obvious reasons we won, but last time we were in this building, I had a shot to tie it in the corner in the playoffs. I think it was game 4 and missed. Let me tell you that feeling sucks. And we had a comfortable lead in the 4th. I would say comfortable. Nothing's comfortable in the NBA anymore. But we had a lead in the 4th, and they did a good job getting back into it. Take the lead with 10 seconds to go, and it's easy not to. It's easy to be down on yourself and frustrated. There were some plays in the 4th that I wish I didn't make and that I made, a couple turnovers, and just to have that opportunity to get us a big road win, obviously with a lot of people hurt. It's special, but like I said out there, we wouldn't have been in that position if it wasn't for, everybody that, chipped in tonight. Jake was monstrous. I think that's the best basketball game I've seen him play since he's been in the league. But you could go down the list. It wasn't just him. And even though I struggled offensively, putting the ball in the basket, we didn't let that frustrate us. They kept hooping and kept encouraging me to go do what I do.
JJ was telling us that in the timeouts late, there's a play against the zone, there's a play against man. But can you walk us through when you get the ball, you see Gobert come in, how you kind of decide to split the double, like what's going through your head in the time? I know it's instinct, but can you walk us through that last play?
Yeah. They did a good job. The play we were trying to run, they did a good job, kind of killing the play early. Jaden pushed me out to a position that I didn't want to catch it, but got the ball and seen DA running up for a screen. Did a good job sprinting into it, so that Rudy had to, try to follow suit so he could be, up to touch on the screen. And with him running full speed towards me and me running towards him, I have the, edge on being able to, go both ways.